He's enjoying a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, and we're going to have some fun. So take us away, Roberto.
Perfect. I am sharing my screen.
And I would say, I said from
Thumbs up.
You.
Did that work out?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Perfect. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Hey, so it's that time again. Look at that. We're already in May now. I hear we're gonna get a little bit of showers this weekend. I thought we were out of it, but we're still going through it. I hope you're all doing well and ready for this next session. This one is going to be focused on human-centered design and talking about the implementation of it and the facilitation tactics. Okay, and this will be one of a kind of a part of a little miniature series within our series, talking about incorporating and really understanding the use of the various tools that we've learned about during these various sessions. Okay, let me turn on my little light here. It gets a little bit light. Okay, so first slide, as you're all familiar with, we're going to do a little outline of Be Kind, Please Rewind. We'll review what happened last time. We'll be talking through, of course, what I just mentioned, which is human-centered design, and then how do we incorporate that into PI. Okay. All right. Let me get rid of this little box that's popping up. Okay. So first up, Be Kind, Please Rewind, just to kind of remind you what happened last time around. So I've got some graphs. I know it's a lot of information on one page, but you know, as it is, as we rewind last session, first want to remind you of, hey, we talked about run charts, and we talked about the different rules that are applied to analyze those run charts. And so some of those names that you might remember, and those are going to be right on this next chart: shift, trend, run, even hugging. That's more so associated with control charts. So remember that the main piece is my little sailboat, my little boat example there. As you can see, my bottom left was us hanging out, enjoying the sun on a boat. And the application there was talking about the kind of the repetitive nature of the regular environments that we are experiencing. So the repetitive nature of going up.
To go. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Oh, great. Okay, so we have the repetitiveness of experiencing, okay, the boat is rocking through waves, through the push of the wind, and that is common, what we call common cause variation. It's commonly something that we experience. There's nothing special about it. But only when something special occurs, such as a whale breaching right next to us, some fast jet ski boat zooming by us, do we experience probably severe turbulence, right? And so that's going to be called special cause variation. And the special cause variation is what we will is what we identify and what we analyze in these graphs. And so these rules help us to quickly identify what are those special causes and how can we interpret them using specific rules. So astronomical point, as I mentioned, or I didn't mention that one, but astronomical point, something that's blatantly different from the rest. A shift when there's 6 consecutive data points above or below the median line or mean line, depending on what you're using. Trends, those are consecutive points in a row, but depending on whether you're utilizing a run chart or a control chart, and I'll talk about control chart soon. Again, you'll have certain differences in consecutive points that need to be going in a certain direction. A run, too many or too few crossings of the median line, and then hugging, those are consecutive points within 1 sigma of the mean line. I know this may be a little rusty here, but talking about, again, control charts, the difference in that versus the run chart was that the control charts, more specificity, more robust. They have what's called an upper and lower control limit that helps us really understand if there's any outliers in our data, because 99.7% of all of our data points should be within the upper control limits if we have them 6 sigma away from each other. And remember, there is a mean line that's used in control charts. There's a median line that's used in run charts. I know, fast forward, a lot of information, but this is again a review of what we talked about last time. And then I know last time was dense, so I hope that you're taking a look at those videos and rewatching. Certainly let me know if you have any questions, concerns, and I'm happy to help get through it. I like saying that it's certainly layers of an onion here. So you need to keep learning, peel back, learning, peel back, and eventually, right, you'll learn everything that's needed. And then that far right is a decision tree essentially, which helps you really identify the different types of control charts you would use. I briefly touched on this as this was meant to be an intro to control charts, but know that there are a number of different control charts that can be used given what kind of data you're looking at. And again, this control chart helps you to differentiate, and it also provides some examples. We can make this available as well. So that's be kind and please your mind. All right. All right, now diving into human-centered design framework. All right, so what is this? So there's gonna be a lot of words on this slide deck, by the way. It's definitely a dense and thoughtful piece of framework to consider. So the overall goal is understand our patients by empathizing with their experience and learning what they truly value to discover so that we can discover unmet needs. So think of that through a little bit here. So you're saying, okay, I see, again, I'm using patient. I will switch between a little bit, but I'll use patient more consistently since a lot of us are in the healthcare environment, but certainly depending on what your environment is, you may be a patient, you may be a customer, maybe a client. So there is someone that you are trying to learn more about, and we want to understand that there may be some unmet needs that let's say who's doing the observation of someone else, and there's something that's unmet. And I really need to take a step back and empathize. Okay, something's going on, and we'll talk more about this in detail later, whether it's behaviors that I'm seeing, language that's being used, that's saying something is unmet. And me, who's again a PI person, performance improvement person, I'm being really thoughtful here, and I want to make sure I am improving upon that person's experience as best as possible. Because certainly I'm providing a service, and I want that service to be fantastic. So what we'll be talking through is this human-centered design framework, and there's 4 big phases to this thing. This is in short, understand, so understanding phase, reframe phase, imagine phase, and build and test phase. Okay, so in each one of those, just go a little bit more in detail. Understanding, we'll go more in detail soon, but understanding your challenging assumptions to ensure alignment with the problem. So what's actually happening here? What's the root cause of why this person in front of me is feeling the certain way that they're feeling that maybe I'll just say is something's unmet. Reframe. So I'm taking that information and then I'm saying, okay, let me take those insights, let me take maybe some data points, let me think through this to really understand an organizational need, right? Because on my end, there might be other priorities that are happening. I'm taking this whole bucket of information and I'm trying to maybe think about it in a different way so that it's coming from a problem to being more positive and refined to then be thoughtful about, well, what can we do about it? And then imagine, now it's I know sometimes I really enjoy this part where you're imagining. You're really trying to understand, okay, so what are the different ideas that I have that could potentially solve this issue? What are the ideas of other folks? And it's really important to say that word idea and test, because certainly as we're learning about PI, there's these cycles, right? Cycles of change, cycles of PDSAs, we've heard about that, Plan, Do, Study, Act, to help us think through this. So what potentially could I test? And then eventually you get, of course, you get to test. And this goes along, this kind of framework really goes along with what we've talked about in other models. As I've shared, there's various models that we can look at, and each of them have that same sort of infrastructure where you're even going back to the scientific method, right? Understanding and then putting a test to go together to then actually do that test and then study the results of it. So very, very similar in nature.
And Roberta, why don't you call out too that this is so great and how you actually can use this with the, like, say, your value stream map, the patient journey plus the value stream map or process map. And like Roberta kind of said up here, when you go through the understanding, it's really what is the current state right now, but with human-centered design or lived experience. So how do the other people feel about it? What are the behaviors associated? What are, what's in their hearts around this and that that's actually causing them to feel a certain way? So it's almost like ethnography in a way. You're almost studying the nature of that particular, say, thing that you're trying to, understand better. And so that's why we love it so much, is because it allows us to really now go up under that hood and just, wow, I never knew. And live a day in their, not just a day in their shoes, but try to actually emulate like the way they live their lives based on the learnings that you're getting with them. Thank
you so much, Dennis. And I really appreciate you bringing forward with value stream mapping and when you could potentially do this work. And I think I just want to roll on the idea. I was reflecting on, okay, this element, this is what we're learning about human-centered design right now, and it's session 8 now. Understand there's a lot of kind of chicken and egg to some extent of some of these trainings that you're receiving, and there's how important it is to understand the customer's kind of customer's voice, right? And when is it applicable? And so we've learned about data and how you would apply data, and now we're talking about how do you speak and listen with people. So certainly sometimes you got to learn that first before something else, but certainly we're going to continue to massage this to help to put it in together to make it make sense. So understand that there's a little bit of we don't necessarily say you have to do this after data, but these are all really, really big things that we're learning one piece at a time, and we'll make sure to massage it and put it all together, okay? All right, so diving deeper into that understanding phase. So the big takeaway for this one is I really love the phrase fresh eyes. It's what is happening that's in front of you, again, using the word unmet, and what's happening in front of you that you can experience or hear from that individual with fresh eyes to say, I'm seeing something, and maybe if I took a step back, if I brought someone else who's usually seen this work, maybe we can take a look at this a little differently to then stop, maybe change what we've been doing historically, or using the word traditionally, we have done it this way, right? How can we get rid of that traditionally and saying, you know what, there's always opportunities for improvement, and what could we possibly, again, take a step back and maybe do something different? And so that's where you have, we're going to go more into how to apply this, but you explore the patients, the customers, the staff. Remember, staff are part of this as well. You may want to improve a staff workflow or work that they do on a day-to-day basis. So they're part of this process too. And so you might learn some unconventional problem-solving methods. And I think I love the word workarounds. We've heard that before, certainly many times. What are the workarounds that everyone is doing, because the process that we're in isn't doing it for us, isn't actually efficient, is causing us to have headaches. And so looking at that, if you can see closely in that bottom right picture there, you can see some, okay, a woman doesn't have a hair clip, so she uses a pencil to help to keep her hair up. It looks like there's a hammer that's being used to wedge underneath. Maybe that's a cabinet, a filing cabinet of some kind that was maybe slanted, and so to make sure that doesn't wobble through something underneath it, right? I'm sure you've all probably done it at like a restaurant dinner table at some point in time, or at a lunch table where something's a little wobbly, and so what you do is grab a wad of napkins and fold it up and then wedge it underneath the leg of the table, and guess what? You just fixed something short term that was you were experiencing something that was unmet, right? An unmet balance table. So if we were to take and understand those things that people are doing unconventionally, what could we do about them, right? Those are opportunities for improvement. All right. So I know lots of words here, so we'll get through this here. So we want to listen to the customer. We've said that. We want to hear from them, and soon in the next slides you'll hear more about how to actually get that done through interviewing. We want to consider the customer's thoughts, right? So we want to ensure that we know that they certainly have experiences that they may have had that we have not had, or at least appreciated. And so that means that they have a wealth of ideas that we have not maybe gleaned and really heard yet. And so how do we dive into that to really understand, okay, guess what? That makes them an expert on that certain thing. I need to learn from them. And I and Dennis have mentioned really understanding the person that's also in front of them with the behaviors that you see. So are you seeing that there's certainly if someone comes in upset, you certainly see that behavior of clear emotions are being said about a certain thing. You're understanding, is there any other sorts of maybe speaking with that person emotions that are understanding their any thoughts behind why they're feeling what they're thinking. So what they're feeling. So additionally, narratives detailing the customer's emotions connect us to the purpose behind our work, right? So we're understanding what they're saying because it impacts us. So listen. And then I kind of spoke to that already, but observe the customer's behaviors. Because also I think we've experienced some people may say certain things, but then maybe really feel differently, good or bad, whether it's, I know sometimes I may be sometimes shy about raising my voice or complaining, let's just say, using that word, it's a complaint, that maybe something is unsatisfactory to me, and I'll just say, well, it's fine, right? It's fine, it's no problem, and I'll move on. But really, if someone's looking at me and seeing my facial expression has changed, maybe I'm not fine. Maybe it wasn't okay.
That's a great point too, Roberto. And if you were going to talk about the empathy map, how do you actually create a little empathy map? Basically, it's a 2x2. And like Roberto said, sometimes I say and do things, but really I think and feel much differently. And so when no one's watching, I might not always do it. But when somebody's watching me, like my boss or so, I'm going to say or do certain things. But I could think and feel the total opposite. So these are the things that we would like for you to just think about as you do, say, your work, and not even if it's a project, just working with everyday people. How do you get into their heads around what do they really think and feel? So human-centered design is around that thinking, that feeling, and normally that will drive the behaviors, even though sometimes they might say or do things to the counter.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that support.
That's my last word, Roberto. No more cutting it.
No, please. Love to hear your advice. Okay, so jumping into it. So application, right? We talked about kind of the cornerstones of what we're this framework. So interviewing though, large component of the understanding phase. And certainly we want to understand expressions and thoughts and emotions of what we just talked about. And we want to understand what are the, maybe we have a list of questions that we create to really grab at exactly what we're trying to understand, the essential pieces of information that can help us move forward and learn about what is happening in front of us, whether it's something I'm directly seeing, or maybe I'm seeing in data, and how I can now move forward towards some type of improved state. So what is interviewing? All right. Number of different techniques. So don't, I'll say a time here of about an hour, but don't be scared there. There's a number of different techniques. There's a number of ways of getting this information to really respect what people are saying, and certainly sampling or getting enough, talking with enough people and asking them maybe similar or separate questions, many different techniques. But there's certain one way in which this specific framework speaks to of really getting a very thorough, structured interview completed with that individual who you want to learn from. And so there's some structured approaches that speak to an hour's length, and certainly having a listed number of interview questions. And so being prepared and aiming not to constrain the interviewer or interviewee to a specific kind of response, but open-ended is best. And so we'll talk about some different opportunities of questions you can use to get that open-ended feedback. So main takeaway, listen. I love that. Listen attentively 90% of the time and contribute towards the conversation for the remaining 10%, right? This is where big ears, small mouth, super important. I am listening. I'm really engaging with my ears, and then I will contribute a little bit just to really help the conversation move forward. All right. So what are these questions? What could you possibly do here? So I mentioned the word open-ended, and so I'll just kind of go through here as it's listed. So understanding deeply. So how could you do that? One question type, can you tell me about ... If you want to hear about someone's emotions, how did that make you feel? Again, keeping in mind open-ended, right? You don't see that this is saying, did you feel one way or another? But it's how did you feel? Specific examples, tell me about a time when. Do you have a specific example of? And then maybe clarification, because maybe you're not, you didn't hear it correctly. Maybe it was a little bit too broad of a response that you had received. And so you may say, walk me through it. Walk me through what you just said, and maybe pinpoint exactly what they had said. And they might be able to provide you more details that helps you really fully understand what they're talking about. Another one is, I'm not in such and such role. Can you tell me about what you do? I know I love that question. When I do PI in different departments where I have no idea what's going on in that department, I certainly treat that person as an expert, right, in their work, in their place of work. They do that day in, day out. They're certainly the expert, and what they experience. So tell me about it. I'd love to know. And that's one thing I greatly appreciate about performance improvement being in this role is I feel like ask the dumb questions and but be humble about it. Listen and learn.
That's Roberto, that's exactly what my supervisor uses, and I really like that because the way he approaches it is he goes to the subject matter experts, and I really like that because it makes it open for people to feel like they matter when it comes to doing their roles.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I mean, it's great to hear these tactics, you know, used in the workplace and examples. So thank you, I appreciate that. And definitely anybody else, feel free to jump on in. Okay. Again, kind of walking through here. So walk me through a typical day. Tell me a story of a time when you got help from your mental health and wellness, for your mental health and wellness. Let's take yesterday, for example. What was your experience accessing such and such thing? How did it feel to get help for such and such thing? Okay. So as you can see, just once again, open-ended, allowing that individual to speak and certainly listening to what they're saying, and of course, quickly and rapidly writing down as much as you can to take away from it. All right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I typically don't incorporate videos into my my slide decks, but I thought this was a good one. So a little primer here. This is a TV show House. And what you'll see is a small scene that speaks to Dr. House, who's in a clinic environment, and he's talking with a patient. Okay.
They said they'd fix it, but it didn't make any difference at all.
Well, sometimes doctors make mistakes. And try twice as hard to fix them. You using your inhaler?
All the time, go through one a week.
Sure you're using it right?
Do I look like an idiot?
No. Why don't you show me how your inhaler works?
Sure. I don't know.
You're making chicken recipes.
That was it. Okay. I hope you appreciated that one. Again, it's meant to be funny, but it's, you know, but it's just bringing out this interview technique, right? You hear something, there's something that's unmet, and you're gonna have you have to bring forward some questions. And you saw that, what was that great question? Show me how you use your inhaler, right? Maybe I didn't you know, say it verbatim there, but right, show me, versus criticizing and making that person feel small. Show me how you do that certain thing. And again, obviously funny and meant to make light of the situation, but understanding and seeing firsthand and saying, oh, you have a little bit of epiphany. So take the time to take a step back and ask that simple question, open-ended question. Show me how you do such and such thing. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can just, I think I have to fast forward this. And okay, great. All right, now we're going into the reframe phase of things. This will be a short, concise slide here where we're talking about, okay, we just got through that understanding, and we did understanding through interviews. Okay, great. Now you're taking that information and you're understanding, okay, what do I do with this information? How do I retool it to make it make more sense? And because remember, hopefully you're doing a number of interviews to really understand a broad spectrum of someone's or people's experience in doing what it is that you're looking into. And so you might think through, okay, how might we, right, increase, decrease, whatever it may be, by incorporating some certain rule? And what would be the ongoing benefit? So I know that's a lot to take in. There's a lot of like parentheses and slashes there, but understanding, great, what was my original question that I was trying to achieve? I just asked someone a whole series of questions. Okay, I have their responses, and now I'm saying, what do I need to do to make whatever problem it was that I kind of consolidated? Maybe I heard a number of problems, but what do I need to do differently? Okay, so before I dive deeper, I think I want to really emphasize on you may hear a series of different problems at hand during a number of interviews. There may be some things that you didn't expect to hear when asking these questions. And so you might be left kind of scratching your brain and saying, well, okay, I heard, well, I'm going to use this as an example here, but let's dive into this picture where what are the problems with the way our team runs meetings? Okay. If you imagine you're in a team and you ask this question individually, set up interviews, you probably will hear a number of different opinions on why certain problems exist through someone's viewpoint on a certain meeting. And so what I'm going to say is there's this technique called an infinity diagram, and it essentially helps you to break out the separate areas into likes, like buckets, like categories, to help you to better digest what was just said. So for instance, let's say you have someone, again, 4 separate problems that were brought to your attention. Some meetings are too short and feel rushed. Some meetings are too long and drag on forever. Some reoccurring meetings are unnecessary, and too many meetings are scheduled during peak work hours / busy times. All true, all very real problems to those individuals. And we'll keep going here. Another one is too many meetings don't have an agenda or a clear goal. People jump in with tangents or unnecessary topics, and meetings don't have a facilitator to keep the conversation on track. I'm going to keep going. Meetings have too many attendees involved in too many meetings I don't need to be a part of. Lack of clarity about what each person should contribute. Imagine you just got a whole pile of those, right? Or you have your notes and you had written them all out in order of what you received them. And so one tactic that you can utilize is, again, this affinity diagram to help bridge that understanding of likes. So you go ahead and consolidate everything that you find is associated with timing. And then you find that there's a trend in things associated with meeting focus. And then there's a trend associated with meeting with attendees and what they should be doing or not doing. And so utilizing this helps you to reframe all of these various problems into something that's a bit more tangible. So then you're saying, I can now, because I've now created these buckets and I've now categorized them, I can now dedicate time to certain initiatives towards these problems. Something about timing, something about focus, something about attendees, and thinking about how might we now solve the timing issue? How might we improve this focus? How might we improve the attendance and clarity of what they're expected to do? Okay, maybe hopefully that better clarifies what I think that first bullet there. But to reframe is to take all of the information that you gathered, put it in a way that's more digestible, to then move forward with the next step in the process. Okay. And then I mentioned imagine phase. I really enjoyed this one. This is where you're taking, now that you have those buckets of information, now you have that consolidated ideas from, or the consolidated maybe problems or conversations that you had from the course of those interviews. You're then saying, got it, what can I, right? Using that frame, what can I do to make that certain thing better? And of course, as it says there, to have good ideas, you need to create lots of ideas, good or bad. So this is your opportunity to bring everybody to a table and showcase your digestion of what the consolidated problems are and what does it look like for that bucket to be made better, and listen to everybody, right? We're totally open to everyone's ideas and writing them all down. And we don't know if something's bad until it's really considered and said out loud, until we really understand it, and maybe potentially until we test it. You know, you test something and it turns out not what you wanted. That's okay too. That's a learning. That's a learning that you can then write down and saying, got it, tested, understood it, analyzed it, and said, you know what, that wasn't a solution to this problem. As you learned about data last week, it didn't actually change that as expected. It didn't meet our hypothesis that it would improve. And maybe up arrow, down arrow, good, bad on your graph, and you find that it didn't actually change anything. Got it. Okay. It was maybe an idea worth changing or trialing out. Okay. Then we're going to get into build and test. This is where you may hear these terms prototype as associated with human-centered design. And again, making bridging of ideas here, prototype, small cycles of change. We're talking about testing PDSAs, right? Small and simple is always the best way to go about. Because you can imagine, you know what, if you take the tactic of, I'm gonna do a wide sweeping change across the entire system based upon something that I feel is a necessary, or is a solution. What if that wasn't the right solution? What if it didn't actually change the data, and I just put hours of people time into making that change happen? So small tests of change. So just reading through this here. So a prototype is a early sample or model built to test a concept or process. A prototype is a tangible creation of a tool, role, or process at low resolution aimed to develop and test at an early stage. Meaning, again, simple, small test of change. And I love this quote. I've said it a few different ways. I feel like this is from a CEO of IDEO, not CEO, but we want to fail fast and early to succeed earlier. So I typically we like to fail fast, okay, and early. And the behind that is really understanding, if you get that done now, right? If you learn now, if you did a small cycle change now, and you found that early on, right, that it was not something that contributed towards your overall outcome, great lesson learned, and we can move forward. We can move forward with another idea to test right away, because we made something simple, tangible, a test to achieve, learn, and move. And I think that's some of the nimble part of what we need to achieve in larger systems where maybe this PDSA cycles haven't been well embedded, and all of a sudden PDSAs really become implementation. And you're saying, well, we're gonna give it a try with the PDSA, and then we did one PDSA and said, well, we learned enough, and then we implemented it. Like, whoa. Did the data say what we hypothesized it to say, which was it was going to get better? So by implementing this idea, so did the idea actually contribute towards some type of better state? And then one thing, if you've heard of the Rube Goldberg machines, maybe you've seen in cartoons, and Wile E. Coyote, for instance, is one with one good cartoon I love seeing, where he has some sort of device trying to capture the Roadrunner, and it's some elaborate thing that he trials, fails, gotcha. Now there's another trial him to do. So there's a mechanism of understanding and learning some elaborate something, and then learning from it and then moving forward. All right, here is a great video from Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh that incorporates, well, as you will see, ideas gleaned from multiple, I would say, experts on child care, and how it contributes towards this overall problem of fear of getting an MRI done.
Well, we're here today for a CT scan of Duncan's sinus with chronic congestion and coughing. So we're gonna have a look, see what's going on in there. And the pilot pirate room was pretty cool. The room was painted completely like a pirate setup, including the floor. The floor was like like at the dock with the water on the sides. And animals, things on the walls, and the CT scanner itself was like the wheel of the pilot ship. It's for a child, it can be kind of scary. You see things that make noise, and it's a very institutional. This is you're not even really thinking about the fact that you're doing a procedure. Very, very welcoming, very whimsical.
We were sedating a lot of our children to keep them still while we were imaging. So there wasn't emotional images. And we found out that if we could distract them long enough, we could get them through the skin without sedation. And although sedation is done very safely in children, it still has some risk to it, and we wanted to reduce that risk. So in the hospital in Oakland, we started in a CT scan, and we were able to take simple things like murals on the wall, disco balls, projecting images on the ceiling, and change the atmosphere from being so medical in CT to almost being an underwater sea adventure with mermaids and fish. And it worked. We found out we were able to reduce sedations in that CT scan by about 30%. And after we realized how successful this was, it was during the time we decided that we could make this so much better with the opportunity of new rooms and new scanners. So we began to partner with GE, and we came up with what's now known as the Adventure Series.
My name is Stephen Jones, and I'm a nurse at Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. I'm here in the radiology department, and exactly in my favorite room, which is the pirate room that we've designed with GE, and it's themed to help the children get through the scans, feel a little bit more comfortable, to feel like it's not so medical, more friendly, and that way we can use that atmosphere to warm them up, get them into the scanner. And then from that point to complete the exam, it'd be like 6 or 7 years ago, it would be a plain old scanner with no decorations at all, and kids who look at that machine as being something very scary. And I would just look at my coworkers for little things that they would do to help the kids get through those scans. Everything from pretending that they were at a hair salon, getting their hair washed, to painting their nails, imagination that we're going somewhere, some things like that. And then we decided as a group to go ahead and decorate the scanners, and that seemed to be a great step in the right direction. And so we just continued with that train of thought, add some massage therapy, blocking the scanners, putting the parents up on the scanners with the kids, making it more fun, storytelling and things like that. Then we started working with GE, and then we actually themed out some of the rooms to be a story. So in many situations, I will be in a room preparing the child to come into the scanner, and I'll start talking about the pirate adventure, actually giving the kid a pirate hat to wear, getting them to usually get on board with me, going, like, what does the pirate say? They're like, and so we'll just run down the hallway together to get on the pirate ship. And then once we do, it's usually pretty easy to get them through the scan. While the doctor's offices take a while to realize that, this kid doesn't need sedation. They'll be just fine doing this test because we work with the kids that well. And so they're surprised. And over the years, it's kind of funny that they've caught onto it. Like, oh no, you'll do fine at Children's. They don't even order sedation anymore because they know if it was fine, you're going to Children's, and that's going to be great because you're going to have a good experience.
Fantastic. Okay. So hope you appreciated that video and type of interviews that they conducted, and this sort of bringing everyone together to really understand and contribute towards this problem of fear with children doing the MRIs, and the necessary kind of steps needed to problem solve and think through and understand where the patient's coming from to then apply these techniques right? Prototyping. And it seems like they've learned and then they expanded, as you saw that there's a few different environments that they created of the MRI machines. Okay, so final thoughts. So how is collecting voice of the customer impacted by equity, inclusion, and diversity? So from whom are we hearing? Who are we missing? In our populations, what barriers are they experiencing? So quick pause there. Just I think that's really an important piece that I didn't address earlier, but certainly thinking about who are we even asking to begin with, right? We talked about the techniques, and that's fantastic, amazing, right? Apply it, learn it. But are we ensuring that we're actually collecting everyone's voice with equity? Are we ensuring that there's enough inclusion and diversity present to really truly understand everyone's experience in that certain service that's being provided? So as I mentioned kind of at one point, as the interview happens, take quick notes. So in your notes, when you do these interviews, what are the needs that you're hearing? What are the pain points? And I really love interesting quotes, because you want to be able to share this with other groups of people who maybe are not participating in that interview. And so you want to be able to showcase directly, what did the patient say? And if there's something that peaks exactly to the area that you're trying to inquire about, and it's powerful, at least to you and certainly hopefully to others, share that, write it down. Going back to now going into the prototypes part, do the prototypes themselves provide benefits equally? Who might we miss? Are there unintended adverse consequences of installing that prototype? So it's important to think about whether the changes we will equally impact all patients, customers, and certainly, here, Contra Costa Regional Medical Center and health centers and Contra Costa Health, we strive to ensure that any changes we make do not create worsened inequity. Okay. That's all I got for today. So I know there's a lot of information. I know, a lot of information. I know that there's, we've had a dense conversation last time as well with data. We had some sharing there as well. And Dennis, I see you may be interested. You have something for us?
No, Roberto, excellent job as always. I just want to ask the audience, or ask you, Roberto, as well too, when would they use this approach and how might they integrate it with work that they have ongoing? Because there's so many little jewels and nuggets when you think about human-centered design. So how might they integrate this thinking into their current, say, projects or stuff that they do on a daily basis to solve problems?
Yeah. With the frameworks that we speak to when we talk about what's truly the problem, it's usually the start of it. What brought you to even starting some sort of PI thing? What someone provided you with a problem, or maybe said maybe flipped it and said there's an opportunity to improve such and such thing. This is where that's when there's an opportunity, because it's not just, again, I know it's kind of a lot framed towards patients, but I also want to call out staff, talking about workflow design, redesign, and development. This is an opportunity to ask the staff, of course, ask the patients, ask whoever it is that you're working with, a team member that you want to make sure our team is running better. Utilize these techniques to understand what's truly the problem.
Thank you, Roberto. Excellent, excellent response. That's the deal. Yeah. Getting a much, much deeper understanding of what's truly the problem and the root causes.
So I'm definitely interested. I know last time we ran through with data. I know it was extensive amount. I think we went up to the hour. We have a few minutes left, and I'm wondering, this is a fresh lesson here, but maybe people had some time to reflect on run chart or control chart use in their own projects that they're currently doing. Certainly, if you've already been able to apply it, fantastic. Would love to know how you applied it and any lessons learned. But certainly, if you have any questions, would love to hear those as well. So, first question is: has anyone been able to apply run charts or control charts in the past, present, maybe thinking about the future as well?
I would say for the future.
Fantastic. Perfect to hear.
I'd say it helped me understand our dashboard a lot more clearly. So that was really helpful. I wanted to ask you, I don't know if it's possible to get the slides for that or any other meetings, only because we used to have this ability to screenshot, certain things, but we transitioned to iGel and it grays it out. So yeah, there's just a lot of great information in there that we'd be able to reference. So I don't know if that's something you're making available.
Yeah, it's available, and I can make that available. I think through the efforts of our wizard, Nessa.
Oh, great! Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Any reflections on even just talk about the measures of outcomes and process measures? Have people understood that topic, and maybe they can share some of the process measures that they're working on right now? All right.
Hi,
Yeah,
Roberto, it's Letty. I don't know if this would be appropriate, but I know the KPIs that we were working on for dental. I know that was definitely the first time I do something like that. So I don't know if that would fall into this conversation.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm wondering, I think KPIs are great because then they almost speak to, right, the process measures of them contributing towards something else. And it's not to put you too much on the stand here, but like you might understand each of those KPIs are contributing towards a larger outcome, whether it's better efficiency with your dental services, whether it's better safety, and you're increasing safety scores, various safety scores or experience scores. And in order to reach those overall goals, you need to tackle each of these separate KPIs, right?
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's exciting. And of course, I'm open to let me know. And if you ever want to showcase, would love to see some of those the data, and feel free to grab the screen and share what you have. Even if anyone's ready now, by all means.
I have a little quiz question for the team. What's the difference? What's one difference between a run chart and a control chart?
Control lines.
Thank you. Awesome. Upper and control limits. Another quiz question, and since we have a minute, what is a trend and a shift on a run chart? Let's say a shift first. What is a shift on a run chart?
Usually when something increases or decreases. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so let's carry that out a little bit more. So we're talking about a shift on a run chart. How many points do we need, either above the line or below the line?
Is it going to be 6?
Good. That's technically good. Good. That's good. What about for that's a shift, either above or below, 6 consecutives, or actually technically it's 5. But what about a trend? What is a trend? What's the difference between a trend and a shift on a run chart? Anybody want to venture a guess? We're all in here together. It's just venture a guess.
I wasn't here
So-
last session, but I'll guess that a trend is something you see consistently on the chart, and a shift is something that is, I'm assuming, like net new, or not something you've seen before and it's suddenly looking different.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good, Matt.
I tried.
Yeah, no, that's good. So technically, a shift is like X amount of points either above or below the line, the median line on a run chart. And a trend is X points going through the same direction, either up or down, but it can't go through the median line. But good try. Mhm. And then the last quiz question will be, how many control charts are there on that little slide that Roberto puts up there at the top of the hour? That was on the right-hand side, and he said, okay, these are the different type of control charts. Anybody want to venture a guess? So it's only one type of run chart, but how many different type of control charts are there for healthcare control charts? Roberto, do you have that slide still?
Let me see here. Let me go back.
I think it's like slide 2 or 3.
Right there.
Yeah.
Got a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it, you could say about 8 or 9, kind of a little bit of a debate, X bar, R, or S.
Yeah, so 8 type of control charts and 1 type of run chart. So if you want to have some fun, if you're bored at night, you can actually take a look at that chart and blow it up, and it's really quite fascinating based on the type of project that you're doing.
Yeah, and we can make this available as well, and really dives in deep, and it really provides you some examples of what kind of data are you utilizing. This is what you would use. It provides some examples, so you don't have to kind of guess too hard.
And see on the left-hand side, see where that shift is? 6 points above the line or below the line, and then the trend is 5 points going in the same direction. So great job, team. But that's all I have, though. Turn it back over to you, either Roberto or Nisha. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it. Please remember to provide some feedback. We do have love to hear from you, and we'll always work to improve as we move forward. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, Roberto.